Give us some background and what's going on at South Texas College and how are you working together on the K through 12 level in terms of workforce development?
I suppose the best way to describe it on the K through 12 would be our dual credit programs, which have really made a significant difference for families and students throughout the valley for being able to obtain college credits early. We have early college high schools, and we've had them for many years. We have about 13, but we have dual credit programs in over 70 high schools, and that gives kids a leg up. It exposes them to a college environment, prepares them for UTRGV and others, many others I must point out. And we've estimated almost $400 million in savings for families for tuition and expenses. So as far as high school goes, we now have been able to promote a number of projects at various high schools with hands-on experiences in terms of already exposing them to HVAC programs, welding programs, the JET program, which was provided to us by the Workforce Commission, has provided us with the monies to buy, or school districts to buy equipment for their students, for us to facilitate their already training in some very workable and income-earning capacities.
Same question for you, Ron. How are students, how are you working with them, preparing them for workforce?
Sometimes UTRGV or universities in general are not really synonymous with workforce development. You kind of just don't think about it that way. But I think we've done an incredible job getting creative because obviously lifelong learning, the higher degree you have, the more revenue you're going to get. That's what lifelong learning does to higher credentials. But successfully completing a degree program, if it's a 4-year or beyond, it's tough because life gets in the way. But we've done some really creative things with high school partnerships, creating collegiate high schools. So in Harlingen, McAllen, and Edinburgh CISD, with those, and also South Texas ISD, we have a very special take on what is maybe referred to as a dual credit. It's not dual credit because these are high schoolers actually getting instructed by UTRGV professors. So obviously what we're trying to do is shorten the duration of time to completion. Like I said, life gets in the way. All other kinds of innovative things that we do, like I said, part of my role is really looking at the job creation side. As Dr. Bailey mentioned about our Luminary Scholar program, of course we want to graduate as many as possible, but we want to graduate and keep them here, right? That's where the true economy influence of the Rio Grande Valley happens. So a lot of my role, what I get to do, I'm blessed to work with a lot of our EDC partners and our government entities, really job creation, period. How can we leverage the resource for job creation in the Valley? As we get site selectors and other companies that are interested in coming here, the number one thing that they're always looking for is a workforce. And between STC and UTRGV, this continuum, and all of our other institutions, TSTC, A&M, and South Texas College, that's about 80,000 plus students that we are all educating. That's 6-7% of the whole population of the Rio Grande Valley that is being educated. So we have such a ecosystem, and between all those great resources, there's just that litany of every kind of credential.
Thank you, Ron. Dr. King, before you get into the question about students and preparing them for job and workforce readiness, tell us about the DREAMS program that you initiated, and some people here may not know about that.
Yes, so Region 1's my community service is a new foundation that we've established called the Possible Dream Foundation. And through that foundation, we've been authorized by Texas Education Agency to establish adult high schools throughout this region. We're planning to open 3 in the fall in Brownsville, then in the FAR McAllen area, ultimately housed in FAR, and then in Laredo. And these are to serve adults from age 18 to 50 years old to help them get not a GED, but their high school diploma, and simultaneously get industry-based certifications or prepare for transition to college. I noticed on the yellow card on your table that STC put out, it mentions that the adults 25 and over, the percent that do not have a high school diploma in our counties, and it's about 30% in each of our counties, more or less. And so while the younger generations, the outputs and the percent graduating have begun now to exceed the state average, the adults from previous generations, there's many that did not achieve their high school diploma. So this is kind of a second chance for those. So that'll be open in the fall, where our plan is to enroll 300 in each of those three counties, Cameron, Hidalgo, and West, and then grow up to a total enrollment of about 1,800 students over the next few years.
I mentioned earlier about CATE, or Career Technical Education Facilities, and that we're seeing more and more with our school districts in the region. Some people may not be aware of what that program is, how it's affiliated with the K-12 industry and related to industry in general. Could you talk more about that, success we're having with that?
Sure. There's been a increased emphasis across the state, our state legislature, the governor's office, on career technology. And I can remember 10, 15 years ago, there was always a debate, which way should education go primarily? Should it go higher ed? Should it go CTE? And when HB 5 was being written in about 2013, it was kind of pushing more and more towards the CTE side. I was asked to get engaged, and we kind of balanced it out where it's not either or, it's both. Now the students can choose which one, but the school should design it as an either or, where students can access either or both, or stack and leverage, so each student can create their unique path. So more and more, and like I said, when I was superintendent of PSJ, my mantra was, every student, CTE student, every program a CTE program. If you're going to go to medical school, that's a career pathway, right? If you're going to go to engineering school, that's a career. So the old day, the divide was, like CTE meant like wood shop or something, right? But no, CTE can mean SpaceX. CTE obviously can mean HVAC or electrician, which we need tremendously. So really, the emphasis more and more about building these programs in. And so you can see the transformation in our schools, and like he said, the CTE buildings and everything. I'm pleased to announce so the legislature is just, is putting more funding into these things. I'll give you an example. In public ed, school districts get incentives for students participating in complete pathways, completing certificates. Higher ed, HBA, the two-year colleges get incentivized financially for students completing high-value certificates. And so aligning that kind of work. But I'll give you another example, equal access. So a new program that came out funded in the 2023 legislative session is something called Rural Pathways. So you have your little rural school districts where they can't afford in that little district to have more than maybe they're lucky if they can put together one pathway. Well, the state has come out with something called RPAP, or Rural Pathways, and they incentivize and significantly fund rural schools to form collaboratives. So one thing that we've done at Region 1, we actually, we kind of scared the state, because we, here in the Valley and in Region 1 area, like we're usually ahead, and then we jump on things when the opportunity is there. So we just got approved for 4 RPEPs, and that means every small school district, it's 1,600 students and under, in all of Region 1 is in one RPEP or another. And so what it is where they're partnering with neighboring districts and bus the students back and forth. So now students, for example, the RPEP that crosses a good part of Cameron, and part of it has 6 districts. Those students now have access to 12 pathways, and soon it'll be 18. So that's an example. Or we've got San Isidro they can also partner with a large district, partnering with Rio Grande City, where they will now have access to everything Rio Grande City has. So that way, a student in a little community like Hebbronville, Jim Hogg County, is no longer limited to what can be provided there. So work-based learning experiences, extra pathways for students. So there's a whole lot, so I'll leave it there, because
Thank you.
get on to the others.
Thank you. Paul, what about the synergy between South Texas College and high schools around the region?
Well, it's a big partnership. There's no question about it. In fact, for STC, we're all about partnerships. And we especially involving dual credit and the ability to provide other types of ongoing certificates and associate's degrees with our high school partners. Now, we use, of course, a lot of accredited faculty members from the high schools to provide dual credit programs on their campuses as well as ours. And so it's been a very successful program, as I just mentioned. And I want to kind of piggyback a little bit on Dr. King's comments, is that there's been a big change, certainly in the last legislative session with HB 8, which actually provided a different way of supporting and financing community colleges. And that was to, instead of going by hours, was by results. And it basically in 4 areas. One, how well are you moving kids from the community college to higher ed, to full-year institutions? 2, what kind of certificates, associate's degrees are you providing? How many? What time? What kind of those degrees are you providing in high demand areas? And number 4, dual credit. And so that particular program was a complete revolutionary change for how we were being financed. And I'm happy to say that in this session that was just completed, well, we should be getting at least now, in a strip compared to 428, well in excess of $550 million in support of community college education. And I want to give a big shout out to a local representative, Oscar Lombardi, who was also a former STC trustee, who was part of the commission before the 23 legislative session that looked at the financing of community colleges and played a significant role in that change. It's a change that now is being talked about throughout the country. And for example, in February, we had community colleges from over 35 states here at the island at a summit that we hosted and we ran to educate them on how dual credit works and other programs of that type. So we're making an impact not just here, and if we've already been leading the charge, frankly, in the state of Texas. There's between us and number 2, they may be in Dallas or San Antonio or Houston, but they're a distant second. And now we're making an impact even throughout the country.
Ron, an important part of the equation. An important part of the education economic equation is industry participation. Programs, as we all know, are developed based on demand in our region. How participatory is our industry with education? And if not as much, how can it improve?
Sure. So almost every college of UTRGV has an advisory panel of industry members. So there's that ongoing feedback. Obviously, there's curriculum standards, so we cannot shift as fluidly. But really, where it really comes into play, and I know Eloy Garza is going to speak about this, one of our professors and Representative RGV lead, is experiential learning. You know, Dr. Solis mentioned internships. We cannot overstate how valuable internships are. Industries always come to us and say, how can I get more engaged? You know, you have these 30,000 plus students. How can I get the best of the best? So it's really that, what I call kind of late stage engagement. Creating internship opportunities for those juniors or seniors, you're getting the best of the best. Brian, I quickly want to highlight one, initiative. It's called Bank on It, right? And it's a great initiative because it was really spearheaded and founded by, so Mayor Garza, the city of Edinburgh, and I don't think there's any Edinburgh folks here, but Mayor Garza has this long-term vision plan called Edinburgh 2040, right? So they're looking at workforce development in their city. So one thing kind of led to another, and they really engaged the financial institutions to create an internship program. So we're just about to launch, actually next Monday they start. So we had 63 applicants and 9 were selected. So 9 seniors of UTRGV that are in the financial degree program. They're getting 3 credit hours this summer, but also getting $20 an hour, right? $20 an hour to do a 200-hour, 10-week program across 5 financial institutions that they're the ones paying. So there is no doubt that if not 100%, the majority of those 9 students are going to not just do the internship, but get employed, because many are graduating this coming semester, if not over the summer. So if you want to keep the best of the best, engage in those internships. And we have so many, we're assessing them, we're screening them, we're making sure that they're career ready. So not only are they doing the 200 hours, they're doing workshops once a week, and they're doing their 3-hour class. So it's a holistic approach, but there's a way to get the best of the best, because there's just immense talent in that student body. We just need to extract them, and the best way to do it is internships. So we'd be happy to customize any program for any industry.
Dr. King, how are our partnerships in the region with K through 12 and industry?
So we've been working on a number of partnerships. We have partnerships with construction companies and with all different, with hospitals, Doctors Hospital in particular, but other hospitals as well. So we have a lot of partnerships where students are getting experiences, attending summer camps, getting work-based learning experiences, and and those are all going very well. The other thing, kind of related to that, so Region serves as a tri-agency convener for two of our workforce boards in the region, and so one is the Lower Rio Workforce Board, and there it's bringing together higher ed, the public ed sector and the private sector, and developing a strategic plans to meet the workforce needs of the region and align the educational workforce. We completed phase one, and we were one of a few of the tri-agencies that our plan was approved with a very high score to go into phase two, which is now initial implementation. And then we just are starting with phase one in the South Texas workforce area, which is the Laredo area. So engaging through higher ed and with the partnerships, and like I said, with the private industry sector. And I think both at the federal and the state level, that work-based learning is becoming a bigger and bigger priority. And so there's going to be a lot more opportunities for that. We definitely are encouraging more and more private employers to step up to the table. And like was mentioned by Ron here earlier, the earlier that industry engages with students, the more they get hooked in and get focused on what they want to do and what they want to be.
Paul, in the realm of education, private-public partnership, do you have a success story you want to share?
Gosh, well, there's so many. I suppose the one that would be most impactful in terms of our economic development would be the fact that South Texas College is always prepared to especially partner with our EDCs. We've been able to provide training programs for new companies and entities that are coming into the area that need specialized training, and that we're able to adjust and make those kinds of things happen and work in conjunction with all of our EDCs. And that certainly makes their job and makes great impact in our communities. But also, we're able to be, as far as a specific example of something of a private partnership, that would be one that Dr. Solis was very successful in the middle of COVID, when we had a tremendous demand for commercial drivers. They weren't out there. And almost overnight, within 90 days, in a partnership with Trancasa, the international trucking company, we were able to institute commercial driving programs in Hidalgo and Starr County that put these people, which immediately filled those cohort positions, got them out there almost overnight.
Ron, you have a success story you want to share?
Yep. I also want to talk about our partnerships with EDCs. I'll use research in particular. Obviously, I think everybody does have an understanding of the academic programs, but sometimes you hear research. Dr. Bailey mentioned we're surpassing $100 million in research expenditures. That's really the next phase for UTRGV. Besides that great football and athletics, research is just as cool. It really is. And, we have partnerships with EDCs. One in particular is with Brownsville. So they had a company as part of their EDC that they were working with. And we have so much immersed programming that we wrapped around what's called applied research. And applied research is really solving industry solutions for the industry need. So a company that was interested in coming to Brownsville, Cosmic Shielding Corporation, they came in, and not only, sometimes you hear also research really just PhD specific. These were undergraduate students. A team of 10 undergraduate students helped along not only the professors guiding them, but the CEO of that company. And they were able to, and they're doing a patent right now, a file for a patent, but essentially created a product that helped create this cosmic shield that is now in space, right? So these are undergraduate students. These are 18, 19, 20-year-old doing world-renowned research. And we just don't hear that stories enough. These campuses sometimes, we have some of the most, again, world-renowned research happening from South Padre Island to the Brownsville campus, Edinburgh campus, and all points in between. But you just don't hear about that. But it's just amazing how there's the classroom traditionally, and then there's whole ecosystem and complementary aspect to the classroom, like research, like athletics, like what we're doing with entrepreneurship training and all the EDCs. So one thing that Dr. Bailey didn't mention, his leadership has been not only extraordinary, but this university is very unique. Universities are built on density, right? You think of UT Austin, Texas A&M, you have these dense little cities. Well, UTRGV is the Valley's university. So we have a responsibility to have infrastructure and academic accessibility from all points in between the Rio Grande Valley. So it'd be easy to just build it where buildings are, but we have to strategically space out, not only our services, but that infrastructure and investment to ensure there's inclusivity of all students across the Valley. And that's been, really challenging, but I think we've done that very successfully.
Thank you, Ron. Dr. King, a private-public partnership success story that you'd like to share?
Yes. Well, first of all, I just want to share that, the tremendous change, the Valley is really the hotbed of partnerships between the schools and higher ed, and now extending out to the private sector. But there's over 40 early college high schools and PTECs in the Valley, and then there's the collegiate high schools as well. So it's pushing close to 50 of those that are embedded high school partnerships. But in terms of public-private partnerships, I think, like I said, one of the strongest ones that I can think of is with Doctors Hospital, where they have a large number, over 1,000 students a year at least. It might even be several thousand get to go in and do internships, to get experiences, have summer camps, whether it be research camps or camps where they get specific trainings and everything like that. And so that's the biggest one that I can think of. But like I said, it's growing, and we'll need to keep on working on building those opportunities for young people to get hands-on experience, whether it's a week or two. And one more I think I'll mention that goes back many, many years. Years ago, when we were trying to figure out how to get internships started and all of that, we couldn't figure out how to scale it for students and get going. So a program that began many, many years ago, together with the predecessor of RGV Lead and McAllen EDC and others, we started a teacher summer internship program where teachers would go into different private industries and spend 2 to 3 weeks. Initially, it was 3 weeks in the industry, and then write a curriculum. So they might go to work for a bank for the summer, and they would get paid. And during those 3 weeks, they would rotate through all the different experiences in a bank, come back and write a curriculum. How do you incorporate that into your classroom? It might be a construction company. It might be a hospital. It might be, and so counselors and teachers going back. Because many times we think about, as superintendent, I looked at, students don't really know what the medical careers are. They know doctor, nurse. Well, I came to realize before long, well, neither do the counselors and the teachers in many cases, unless we intend. So who's telling the kids? Well, the teachers and counselors. So unless we intentionally give teachers and counselors those experiences and really make sure they understand, then that helps them to know better also.
Paul, I know you have to leave in a few minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the floor and see if anyone has a question for our panelists. And if you do, please stand, say who you are, and speak loudly. Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Paul.
Excuse me, everybody.
Anyone have a question? Yes, please.
Dr. King, I'd like to refer on your comment of the interns in the industry. I'm come to this world. I used to be at court chamber back in the day. I probably now work with them that title. we had a teacher who was in your IT program at SGA, Lenicia Bocanega, and her week's internship was at Far Chamber. Not only was she exposed to all the different industries that frequented Far Chamber, but she wrote that curriculum for those students. And she's had several students that we have gone through that program and gone forward into great business professionals and educators. She's now retired. We visit often, and she does go back to that program. So not only is it important for the students to learn, but it's great for the educated professionals to upgrade their teachings, because they went to school back in the day, and they too need to get current and consistent with what they do, because their minds are for management. So
Thank you. And I'll follow up on that. Thank you very much, Tam. I'll follow up on that. There's different creative ways of doing it. So, for example, there's teachers. Elo Garcia is going to be up here in a little while. He was marketing teacher for PSJ. And so he did a lot of initiatives with students where they went out and did marketing programs for business. And so they put together packages, sometimes for free, sometimes a small fee, and they do all the marketing for businesses they couldn't afford, marketing firms. We had a similar where we had IT teachers that they would go out and help small businesses set up their internet connection, get a Facebook page. And so this gave students real world experiences. We had another group, in fact, there's some right now in PSG, I'm not there anymore, but they go work, the city of FAR has their own internet, right? And there's students that go work and get trained to serve that, to work on that, and they get that real world experience. So there's a lot of creative ways, to go about doing that. One of the things that I was working on my last few years in PSJ is this: in many of our communities, the school district is the biggest employer. And I thought, we're always asking everybody else to intern our students, we should be interning our own. So I turned to our team and said, our students should be doing all our work, and we should be like going to the island. No, but we should be mentoring them. So I started challenging the team and challenging a lot of our technical people to become dual enrollment. So we had students doing HVAC internships with our HVAC team. We got one of our HVAC employees qualified with an associate degree through STC and qualified to be a professor, but business office, etc. So the more, whether you're on the private side or the public side, working with these young people, because they are our future, to figure out a way. If we do it creatively, we can do internships or work-based learning at a much larger scale. We usually look through a very limited lens.
the best part of that, Dr. King, was some of these were small startup businesses through the programs that FAR had that helped them get started. And then with the help of those interns, it was a win-win for everybody. And it stayed here to help them grow. So that's a good seed on my.
Thank you so much. We're running out of time, so I'm going to have to wrap it up. But Ron, I'm going to let you have the final comment. Anything you'd like to add or say that hasn't been said?
I just want to piggyback to this, and one thing that is such a engine from classroom to commerce, and it really transcends the culture of the Rio Grande Valley, is entrepreneurships. So entrepreneurs now make up so much of the economy, and our students really have a drive for entrepreneurs. It's coming out from STC. They want to be entrepreneurs. I know Dr. Solis, you had mentioned, I think the culinary program now has some entrepreneur training. We have a department and a facility in Weslaco dedicated to student entrepreneurs, commercialization, patents. I mean, and that's where all the EDCs and this ecosystem really generate, because we have students and adult entrepreneurs, and we have such a portfolio. But we forget about that sometimes, right? We look at degree to job to company, and it just mirrors the Rio Grande Valley culture that it's degree to job to business. And all of those, and I'm sure there's many entrepreneurs and some of you here that graduated from UTRGV or Legacy that really has influenced the local economy. So that also sets UTRGV apart. We have a mass amount of portfolio of services dedicated to entrepreneurship development for students and non-students.
Thank you so much. Let's acknowledge our panelists.